Hey property managers, Marie Tepman here from the Property Management Show and Fourandhalf Marketing Agency. If owner-lead growth is on your wish list this year, or you need help with your website, SEO, maybe social media, online reputation, pay-per-click ads, or content marketing, we have got you covered at Fourandhalf. Go to our website fourandhalf.com to get started. That's fourandhalf.com. This is part 3 of my conversation with Todd Ortscheid, and in here we will talk about choosing revenue models, why education-driven marketing is still the gold standard, and how to use AI as a productivity booster while not losing the human touch. So let's dive in. When I started working at Fourandhalf, I was surprised how big the property management industry was. I didn't know what it was. I was like an intern. I was like, there's like a marketing company that just like serves property management? Like that seems so niche and specific. And then I went to my very first NARPM conference and I was shocked. I'm like, this is like a big industry. And then when I learned that, actually, majority of rentals in America are not even managed professionally, my mind was like blown.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's like fast forward 10 years and I'm still at 4.5, but like that's still kind of like true. Majority of rentals are still not professionally managed. And so I feel like the education piece has to come first of like, well, first educating landlords that, hey, there is value in hiring a professional property manager. And in addition to that, you can make more money, not necessarily, how do I say it? A lot of people think like, oh, I can manage my own property because I don't want to pay someone X% of the rent. I want to keep all of it. But then they don't realize that like, yeah, but then a professional property manager who knows what they're doing is probably going to get you more money, not just because of the rent price, but like you're trying to get property managers to do is like, but also through ancillary fees. Like some of that profit kind of, goes back to the owner. And so, education is kind of like such an underrated part of marketing that people think marketing and they immediately think website ads. But then it's like, yeah, but when you're just focusing on like the website and the ads, most often than not, you're just capturing the bottom of the funnel, people who already have an idea what a property manager does. And they're already kind of looking for maybe the cheapest one or whatever criteria they decide is important to them. And I always tell clients that you want to capture people when they're higher up and they're still like looking for solutions. When they're still thinking about like, hey, it's been tough managing this property. I never get to be with the kids, whatever. Like, what are other options? Like, show up then, before they make up their mind that price is the only way to pick a property manager. And then, by the time it's time for them to choose a property manager, then they'll be choosing a property manager based on the criteria you've taught them to use, right? And this is something that you also do a lot. Like, Todd, you were a longtime client of ours and you became so successful that you were like, I need automation. I need bigger, better automation that you basically outgrew us, after all the success. And so, the power of education. And so what advice can you give our property manager listeners around their stance on marketing, right? Especially when they're still small and they feel like they're cash strapped, and they're scared to spend the money.
Yeah, I mean, I work with clients on this all the time. This is one of the biggest questions we get from people is, I don't have $10,000 a month to spend on paid marketing. What can I do? And, I always tell people exactly what you were just talking about, which is the educational component of this. I mean, this was true 10 years ago when Alex and everybody there were talking about content marketing and the benefit of education. I mean, look at Mark Cunningham. I mean, I know I mentioned Mark earlier. I encourage everybody to go and take a look at Grace Property Management, which is his company. There is just video after video after video. That's all it is. And they spend 1% of their budget on marketing. That's it, 1%. So that's what you can do when you do this, because once you start to get all that educational material out there, you become the trusted source. So if someone in your market is looking for, perfect example, one of our most visited pages on our website is a blog that I wrote like 10 years ago on screening pets. And we just get tons of traffic to that page because there's just a person, a landlord in Atlanta who had a bad experience with a pet in the rental property, and they go and search, how do I screen pets? And then what pops up? Our website. We're not even a pet screening website. We're a property management company, but it's that old idea of we provided educational information to somebody and they got value out of it. And because of that, then they start clicking through our website and they see other videos, other educational content, and they say, I like these people. I trust them. They've got lots of information. So maybe they don't pull the trigger today, but a year from now, let's say their tenant turns over and they're like, I don't want to go through this again. I'm going to go find a professional. They're like, who was that person that had that great video that I watched before? And they go back and find you. And so, it can be that simple stuff. So, you can get someone like Fourandhalf to help you put up blog posts, produce videos. This doesn't cost $10,000 a month. You don't have to spend very little money on this to make it work, but it produces outsized value. And then that'll get you to the point later where you have the budget. I do spend $10,000 a month on marketing. That's roughly what I spend in my property management company between, I have my in-house marketing person, our paid ad campaigns, all that kind of stuff. But I was able to get there because I did the basic stuff that you guys taught all those years ago, and I was able to do that. So a combination of the revenue, the content marketing, the SEO, all of that stuff got us to that point. You got to just take those baby steps.
Yeah. It was really funny when you mentioned video, right? And how 10 years ago, this is what Fourandhalf was talking about. Like I was an intern at Fourandhalf 10 years ago, and, we were writing blogs exactly talking about like the power of content, the power of education. And to this day, people email me like, hey, this was stuff that you talked about 10 years ago. I'm like, yeah, because it's still true today, and even more important now because of AI. Like, yeah, but like with AI, everyone can write a blog. I'm like, exactly. So it's even, whereas 10 years ago, not everyone can write a blog, right? So putting up a blog, even if it sucks, sorry for the word, but even if it wasn't that good, was good enough. Like a blog is a blog, and your competitors don't have blogs. Guess what? You're winning. Well, now everyone could just put a prompt on ChatGPT and copy, paste something and present it as a blog. So guess what? Blogs became table stakes.
Yep.
So how do you break through that noise and clutter? You need better blogs. And unfortunately, and like I literally was talking to a client yesterday, and like he's brand new to the company, and the owner of the company basically said like, okay, we're paying Fourandhalf for marketing. We haven't really been utilizing the services we pay for. You're brand new. Go get her. Like go talk to Marie, go figure out how we can maximize, right? And he's asking me all these questions. It's like, what are the top, the cream of the crop property managers doing that no one else is doing? And I'm like, video. And he's like, okay, but like, what is like the secret sauce of, I'm like, video. And he's like, okay, but like, what's something that is like low stakes for us to initiate and has like immense ROI? I'm like, video. Like, I'm sorry, but like, and so we had 2 more meetings like this, and he finally agreed, like, okay, how do we get started? So he texted me today. He said, I bought the equipment. Can we meet tomorrow? We'll test the equipment. And I know that in the past, we would just say like, okay, go right, like we'll do the keyword research, and okay, property manager, like here are like the keywords that we want to go shoot for, and please record a video about like tenant screening, right? And in the past, like just putting up a video about tenant screening was good enough. But now I'm like, I'm sorry, Mr. Property Manager, I'm gonna have to be on a video call with you, and we're gonna block off time because we're going to tease out stories now. Like it has to be
Yeah.
like lived experience now. And, it's a lot more involved, but at the end of the day, I'm sorry, it's still content is still king. It's just that it's a different way of doing it now. And it's more involved now because the plain old blog is table stakes. And then again, with video, someone asked me like, yeah, well, I don't really need to record video because there's like an AI avatar tool now that I can just put in a script and then like an AI person can like deliver it. And I'm like, if you were just taking off a checkbox, that'll work. But if a prospective owner went to your website and it's filled with avatar, welcome to my property management company, like, are they really gonna trust their property to you, right? Like, are you
Exactly.
hiding something? Why can't you show your face? So, yeah, it's just so funny because, with the advent of AI, it's like, yeah, we could do all these things with a click of a mouse, but it's like, so it's even more important to be authentic and to show up that, like, in the sea of AI, I'm a person. You can trust me with the keys to your biggest asset and I will protect it. I'm not just going to run away with the money.
Yeah, I mean, what I always would say on this is, I love tech. I mean, I'm an AI guy. I love this stuff. But the thing I always tell people is the purpose of this tech isn't to replace the high level stuff that you want to do customer facing. The purpose of the tech is to make it easier for you to have more time to do that kind of stuff. So instead of replacing you with an avatar, which is a terrible idea, instead what you should do is get the AI to do some of the easier stuff to get that off your plate. So now you have time where you can record the customer facing video so that you can build trust. Use the tech for that kind of stuff and then create all this additional time that you and your team can use for doing customer account reviews, for doing video marketing, for, doing the stuff that actually has real value add that's going to bring in more customers for your business and improve that customer relationship. That's the real value of AI. It's not, I see a lot of people out there trying to replace their maintenance coordinator with AI. Please don't do that. That's a bad idea. Don't use avatars, to record all your videos. I can tell, and so can most other people. I
I
mean,
know.
you'll slip
The
it by
first
some
two
people,
seconds
but
are like, oh, but then within 5 seconds, it's so obvious.
exactly. And the whole purpose of video, that's what's crazy about this is the purpose of it is to build the trust. That's what you're trying to do with it. You're trying to make yourself be the expert. And then if you replace yourself with ones and zeros, that's not building trust. I mean, that's really not doing anything. You're just replacing yourself with a computer. Nobody trusts a computer. So, don't do that. Use it where it makes sense for you to use it. And when it comes to building blogs and that kind of stuff, I mean, there's all kinds of help that AI can give you. But at the same time, I don't just churn out an AI blog and post it on my webpage. I use it to help me put the ideas together, fine tune it, that kind of stuff. But every single Substack newsletter you see me put out, that's all me writing that. I have AI help me write an outline, but then I write it because I know that's the only way that it's going to produce that kind of value and trust in people. So you got to be smart with it. The technology's good, but it's there to help you. It's not to replace you.
Yeah, it's an assistant. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. Earlier this year, I had a podcast with Mark Cunningham, the Mark Cunningham. And, like he was asking me about like how to responsibly use AI for marketing, right? And I was using the analogy of like, if you're asked to like bring cake to a party, right? You can either bake a cake from scratch or buy it from the store. And are people really going to care if it's baked from scratch? Like you literally, milled the flour and you harvested the eggs and, like you used all natural food dyes. You like ground up strawberries versus using, red 40, which is controversial. But, but it's like, you could also use a cake mix, right? It's like, no one would know if you used a cake mix as long as it tastes good. You'll probably get more praise than if you just bought a store-bought cake that's like still in the box. And then my point there is like use AI as like cake mix, but don't just prepare it as the box says. Like use the cake mix as your base, but then maybe add buttermilk instead of regular milk. Maybe add like a jam layer between, so it's not just like a
Yeah.
sponge cake, but like
Make it
make
your
it
own, basically.
yours, but you
Yeah.
don't have to do it from scratch. You're harvesting the eggs, you're milling the flour, and then that way you end up with something you're happy with faster that people can appreciate, and you can tell that it's still yours, and it's not the Costco type cake that it's like, even if you transfer the Costco cake out of the thing and then you put it in the nice like cake stand, I could tell it's Costco cake, right? So yeah, my point there is like, use AI as a basically what you're saying, Todd, right? Like to help you. It's not meant to replace you. And if like, yeah, no one's stopping you from just like doing a prompt on ChatGPT and then copy pasting the blog, but just don't expect results from it,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Exactly.
so yeah. Any kind of like parting words for our audience related to, we have covered so many things today. But if there was like the biggest takeaway that you want our listeners to have before we end this interview, what would that be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, since we started with the revenue maximization, so I'll go with that, and I'll say that the biggest thing that people have is just they're afraid to get started. They're afraid that they're going to get pushback. They're afraid that it's not going to go well when they roll out some sort of new fees. So I would just tell people, don't be afraid. Just give it a try. Just like with video, it's the same concept. Everybody's scared to get on video, and then once they do it, it's like, oh, okay, that wasn't so bad. I can do that. I used to be scared to death to get on these things. When Alex did my first podcast, I was scared to death to get on video on this. And now I do these things all the time because I'm just used to it. Pull the trigger, give it a try. I promise it won't be as bad as you think. You're not going to get the pushback you think you will. And then you'll be able to keep going with it and do a little bit at a time. Just do it manageably, and just, don't be afraid to start. That would be my advice.
Yeah. And if you don't know how to start afraid, you can ask a buddy property manager who's been doing this. I know Mark Cunningham is very gracious with helping other property managers get started. Or you can work with someone like Fourandhalf, who has been helping property managers do this for
Definitely.
so long. But yeah, thank you so much, Todd, for the time. Always a pleasure speaking with you. If people want to reach out to you for help, advice, bounce off ideas, how can they reach you?
Yeah, I mean, you can always reach me at my email, toddo@propertymanageраssist.com. Or if you want to sign up for our newsletter, just go substack.pmassist.com and sign up there. But yeah, always happy to have people reach out and help people out with stuff.
And that wraps up our 3-part series with Todd Ortscheid. Hopefully, you now have a better understanding and clarity around profits, retention, marketing, and AI. Now, if you want to turn that extra margin into real owner leads that are a great fit for your business, Fourandhalf has got your back. We can help with your website, SEO, online reputation, video and blog content, lead magnets, pay-per-click advertising, even social media, anything you need to get owner leads. Go to fourandhalf.com to get started today. That's fourandhalf.com. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, our newsletter, and podcast feed to not miss out on any future episodes. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.